Hello again, welcome back. Thank you for supporting what I do. I really appreciate it. Now, in this video, I'm diving into yet another steaming pile of political hypocrisy, courtesy of Keir Starmer, of course, and this time he's not just tripping over his own moral superiority, he's stomping on the graves of the very soldiers who risked their lives to keep this country safe. Yes, Keir Starmer, the man who never met a human rights lawyer he didn't want tonight, has been accused of betraying British veterans, and let me tell you, the stench of this betrayal is so thick you could cut it with a bayonet. Now, let's talk about the Northern Ireland or Ulster Troubles. 3 decades of bloodshed, chaos and misery where around 300,000 British soldiers were sent into a war zone to stop terrorists from tearing the place apart. Operation Banner, they called it. I was part of it. I spent 3 years altogether in Ballykelly. Well, 2 years in Ballykelly, a 6-month tour in Ballykinler with the RGBW regiments, the Royal Gloucestershire, Berkshire and Wiltshire Regiment. And I was back and forth there like a yo-yo, so 3 years in total. Around 1,500 of those brave men and women never came home. 722 were murdered by paramilitaries, cowardly IRA thugs who thought planting bombs in pubs and kneecapping civilians was a personality trait. These soldiers, some barely out of their teens, faced split-second life-or-death decisions in a cauldron of violence, and they did it for us, for Britain, for peace. Now, fast forward to 2023, I think it was, and the Tory government, not exactly known for getting things right, actually passed something sensible, the Northern Ireland Troubles Act, or Legacy and Reconciliation. It was a shield for veterans, a way to stop the endless witch hunts, vexatious prosecutions dragging old soldiers, some in their 70s and 80s, into courtrooms over decisions made half a century ago. The Act said enough is enough. It halted new inquests, stopped civilian claims and gave veterans a chance to live out their days without looking over their shoulders for some ambulance-chasing lawyer trying to rewrite history. But enter Keir Starmer, stage left, with his Labour Party clipboard and a smirk that says, "I know better." This man, and I use the term man loosely, who spent 5 years working with the police service of Northern Ireland, he'll remind you of that at every opportunity, by the way. And he's decided that this Legacy Act, this lifeline for veterans, has to go. Why? Because apparently it doesn't have the support of Northern Ireland's political parties or victims groups. Boo bloody who. Never mind that it was designed to protect the men who put their lives on the line while the IRA was blowing up children and grandmothers. Never mind that the 1998 Good Friday Agreement let thousands of terrorists, yes terrorists, walk free from prison, some with comfort letters saying, "Don't worry mate, you're untouchable." Meanwhile, our veterans, they get a one-way ticket to the dock. Two-tier justice, anyone? And here's where it gets really, really galling, right? Starmer's own Northern Ireland Veterans Czar, David Johnston, appointed to represent the soldiers' interests, has called this plan immoral and discriminatory. His own guy is saying this. Even the people Keir handpicked to carry his water are saying, "Mate, you're out of line." Johnston says repealing the Act will create a system where veterans are hounded while ex-IRA members like Gerry Adams could be suing the British taxpayer for wrongful arrest from 50 years ago. Let that sink in. The bloke who was pals with bombers might get a payout, while the soldiers who stopped them get a court date. If that's not a slap in the face, I don't know what is. Now let's talk about Loughgall, 1987. 8 IRA terrorists armed to the teeth attack a police station with assault rifles and a bomb. The SAS, doing their job, take them out in a pre-planned ambush. You'd think that's the end of it, right? Wrong. Decades later, families of those cowardly terrorists, yes, the ones who were literally trying to murder people, are pushing for inquests. And guess what? Starmer's Northern Ireland Secretary, Hilary Benn, has given an unequivocal commitment to make it happen. Jeez. Meanwhile, a recent inquest into another incident where IRA gunmen fired on a police station with a Soviet heavy machine gun welded to a truck ruled the SA's response unjustified. Unjustified. Tell that to the soldiers who'd have been dead if they'd waited to ask, "Excuse me, Mr. Terrorist, sir, are you sure you're a threat?" Former Brigadier Ian Lyle's a man who served 37 years in the army, 13 of them in Northern Ireland, has had enough. He's launched a petition that's racked up over 100,000 signatures demanding Starmer stop this madness. Lyle says these cases were investigated at the time, coroner's inquests, police probes, the lot. There was no case to answer, but now, modern judges who probably think The Troubles is a Netflix series are judging these soldiers by today's standards. It's like prosecuting a firefighter for breaking a window to save someone from a burning building. Lyles calls it what it is, a betrayal, and he's right. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick said it bluntly, it's a disgraceful state of affairs. And he's not wrong. Veterans are living in fear, wondering if their twilight years will be spent in courtrooms, all because Keir Starmer thinks pandering to the loudest voices in Northern Ireland is more important than standing up for the men who stood up for us. Jenrick says this sends a chilling message to anyone thinking of joining the armed forces. Serve your country, follow orders, act legally, and we'll still throw you under the bus 50 years later. Good luck with the recruitment, lads. And don't get me started on the message this sends to today's soldiers. The UK is talking about sending troops to Ukraine for peacekeeping. Peacekeeping. You think any young squaddy going to sign up knowing that decades from now some lawyer with a grudge could drag them through the courts for doing their job? Ian Lyles nailed it. Make a split-second decision, and 40 years later some lawyer could decide if it was the wrong one, and your government won't have your back, basically. That's not just a betrayal of veterans, it's a betrayal of the entire British Army. So Keir Starmer, here's a thought. Maybe instead of cozying up to the Human Rights Brigade, you could try standing up for the heroes who fought for this country. Maybe instead of reopening old wounds to score political points, you could honour the 722 soldiers who died at the hands of paramilitaries. Maybe, just maybe, you could stop this two-tier justice nonsense and let these veterans live out their days in peace. But no, that's probably too much to ask from a man who seems to think fairness means punishing the good guys while the bad guys get a free pass. So the petition's out there, folks. It's in the description of my video. Over 100,000 signatures and counting. If you've got a shred of respect for the men and women who served, go find it and sign it. Let's remind Starmer that betraying our veterans isn't just a policy choice, it's a moral failure, and we're not going to stand for it. And there we go. I'm Paz49. Thanks for watching, and until the next time, stay angry, stay awake, and for God's sake, don't let these politicians rewrite history. Roger Trout.